Prime James Harden was one of the greatest offensive weapons in NBA history, giving opposing coaches migraines trying to figure out how to not foul Harden and give him 100 free throws every night. Harden was a dominant MVP, averaging 30.4 points per game, only to be followed up the next year by one of the most legendary scoring runs in NBA history, scoring at least 30 points in 32 consecutive games, averaging 41.1 points per game over that streak. And not to mention, he's doing it with the best beard the NBA has ever seen. But every single team that James Harden has been on has failed, and it's because of one simple reason. I don't think it's a secret that the best version of James Harden was when he was on the Houston Rockets. Harden would make defenders fall to the ground like he was Mike Tyson, and after a filthy cross, he would stare you down like Joey Chestnut looking at a hot dog, making guys look silly. His OKC days were before his prime and before the beard was really the player he's known to be now. In the Nets and 76ers, James Harden is a different player than in Houston, getting guys involved and averaging over 10 assists per game ever since leaving Houston. But he's rarely turning into the scoring demon that he once was. But no matter if Harden was trying to score or pass the rock, there's one thing he always needs: the ball. If you looked up ball dominance in the dictionary, you would see a picture of James Harden. He needs the ball to succeed in ISO scoring situations, or obviously he needs the ball to pass. Usage rate is a statistic in the NBA that estimates the percentage of a team's possessions a player uses while he's on the floor. In the 2018 to 2019 season, James Harden usage rate was 40.5%, the second highest usage rate in NBA history. Almost half of the time he was on the court, possessions were dominated by Harden. He's reduced there significantly year by year though, and even last season he was down to 25% with the Sixers, but that's still a lot. And his ball dominance is something that's made him lose in the playoffs every single year, because if you stop James Harden, you stop the whole team. When Harden was on Oklahoma City, they got very close to winning, but they couldn't get the job done in the NBA Finals. But again, this was before Harden was really a star, and he was more of a supporting piece, especially to KD and to Russ. And LeBron James was stupidly locked in for the Heat, with D Wade and Chris Bosh trying to get his first NBA championship and succeeding. So Harden got traded to Houston, where he became an MVP and a star everywhere but the playoffs. Houston would make some deep playoff runs, but Harden must have nightmares of Steph Curry and the Warriors every single night. Steph Curry was basically a bouncer to Harden for the NBA Finals, and he never got let in. Eventually, after enough frustration in Houston, Harden forced himself out of there and he got traded to the Nets, where he would reunite with Kevin Durant and join Kyrie Irving for the first time. But the relationship between Harden and Kyrie would turn into that one couple that's always fighting and then reunites for maybe one game together. But the self-proclaimed super team of the Brooklyn Nets that was a toe away from an NBA Finals would break apart, and James Harden would request yet another trade to the Philadelphia 76ers. There, he would pair with Joel Embiid, an MVP, and this would be Harden's chance to finally win a title. Would the 76ers win a championship for the first time?
Here we go. While you were sleeping, massive news from the NBA. The Clippers acquiring James Harden from the Sixers.
Oh, they didn't even make it past the second round. And unless you've been living under a rock, you know that Harden requested another trade out of Philly. This man is trying to get the Infinity Stones of NBA teams, and he's only one away from getting the gauntlet. But James would get his wish, and he's been traded again in a deal that doesn't make any sense. The Philadelphia 76ers sent James Harden, PJ Tucker, and Filip Petrusev to the LA Clippers, and the LA Clippers would send Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum, Marcus Morris, KJ Martin, an unprotected 2028 first-round pick, 2 second-round picks, another first-round pick from the Thunder, and a first-round pick swap in a blockbuster deal. There's a few interesting parts around this trade, with PJ Tucker getting thrown into the deal, which I think is sneakily a big win for the Clippers, but I'll get to that in a second. Because James Harden will now be paired yet again with a superstar team, not something that Harden's unfamiliar with, as he's played with 7 different all-star teammates throughout his time in the league. And now with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, that makes 9. Kawhi, PG, and Russ are all future Hall of Famers, so adding Harden makes 4 future Hall of Famers all on one team. But will Harden solve the puzzle for the Clippers? Harden gives the Clips someone who can pass the rock well to PG and Kawhi, as he's really adapted his game to be a playmaker in the past few years. And he also gives LA an insurance plan if Kawhi or PG was to get hurt sometime in the year. Not a season-ending injury, but just something to carry them through 10 games or something small. To me, I believe that the Clippers won this trade overall. They didn't have to give up their main supporting players in Trey Mann, Bones Highland, or even Norman Powell. And they can immediately put Harden into the starting lineup with Russ at the point guard, Harden at the 2, PG at the 3, Kawhi at the 4, and Zubac at the 5. And then they got a dog in PJ Tucker to come off the bench, who I think really could give their team some energy and life. But the Clippers need to get referred to the gambling addicts hotline because this is a huge risk. They poured their money into Kawhi and PG, who are allergic to staying healthy, and they just cannot put a playoff run together while they're both on the floor. PG, Kawhi, and Russell Westbrook are also aging, with PG at 33, Kawhi at 32, and Westbrook is about to turn 35 years old. So now you trade for another aging star in James Harden, who's 34, and also for a large amount of draft assets that could have been used to rebuild the team after the Kawhi and PG era ends. And the Kawhi and PG era does not have a lot of time left. I really give them 3 years absolute maximum to stay in their prime and also have a shot at getting a championship. With a long injury history and basically every one of their good players getting old, I do not see how this is going to last long. So if this team does not win now, and I mean now, the Clippers have had nothing to show for all of the hype that came with PG and Kawhi signing, and they'll go into years and years of garbage basketball with no draft picks left to save this team anytime soon. Another possible issue here in this deal is how Russell Westbrook's role is affected on this team. With Harden in the backcourt, Russ will not be handling the ball, and he gets put into a role very similar to what he had on the Lakers. And we all saw what happened on the Lakers. He was building mansions with the amount of bricks being put up. I would hate to see Russell Westbrook suffer because of James Harden coming into the team, but it almost seems inevitable. But looking at the 76ers side of this deal, another thing that seems inevitable is Joel Embiid wanting out of Philly. Embiid is obviously one of the best players in the NBA right now, and in terms of playoff success, he has nothing to show for it. The 76ers did nothing to help him this offseason, and this trade once again does nothing. Trading for 3 aging role players is not going to move the needle for the Sixers, especially against the loaded Milwaukee Bucks and Boston Celtics. But the draft compensation that Philly got is interesting. Philly reportedly is looking at some star players they can pair up with Embiid to keep him happy, with eyes on Zach LaVine, who would be ecstatic to escape NBA purgatory that is the Chicago Bulls, or maybe even Pascal Siakam on the struggling Raptors team. If they don't make a move now and trade this draft capital and maybe some of the role players they got for a real star player, I don't see Embiid staying. Even though there is someone on the team who is taking a massive leap and could help Embiid in the playoffs, and that man is Tyrese Maxey. He has been cooking. When the ball is actually in his hands, he has more opportunities, things that he did not have when Harden was on the team. And this just goes back to Harden's ball dominance and how it affects the whole team and really cuts off teammates' opportunities from scoring. But if Maxey keeps up what he's been doing this year, he's going to get a max contract, because dude is putting up 30.3 points per game on 56% three-point shooting, along with 6 assists and 6 boards a game, which is crazy. Daryl Morey probably saw Tyrese Maxey hooping in practice one day and then told James Harden, "I don't want to play with you anymore," like he was Woody from Toy Story. I'm super excited to see Maxey for the rest of this year though, especially if he gets all these opportunities that he's getting early in the year and he continues to progress. And I really think that this year he will be an all-star. You heard it here first. Tyrese Maxey 2024 All-Star. Reserve. But let me know down in the comments if you think that this Harden trade will work for the Clippers and which team won in this trade. But that's all that I got for you, and I'll see you in the next one.